Today's Shanti Parv.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. I Dhananjay Gupta welcome you all on behalf of Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning program. Today we are joined with Acharya Brahmadevji. Acharya is delivering a lecture on the series overview of Vedic Hindu scripture and epic texts. He is he will be touching upon the Shanti Parv of the Mahabharat today. Acharya Brahmadevji has an inclusive educational background in science, company, University of Mauritius, management, AB, UK, and Darshan Acharya, Vedic philosophy, Darshan Yoga Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, and a diverse career in financial services, industry, at and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and on interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center incoming. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French. Over to Acharya.
Om Namaste Ji. Let's bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight. Close the eyes gently with the body totally relaxed. Deep inhale and exhale. Om chanting 3 times while exhaling, and then followed by Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Join the palms together, rub them gently, cover the eyes and open the eyes slowly below the palms. External light doesn't hit the eyes. Transfer the energy to the facial muscles. So today we'll be looking into the Shanti Parva. And just a recap, we've been looking at the Vedic texts. Among them was a brief about what the Vedas cover, very brief, what the darshans are about, what the Upanishads are about. Then we came to Itihas, trying to cover a bit about, touch a bit about Ramayana and Mahabharat. The good thing about these text, if looked into with the appropriate analytical angle, will find so many small teachings that, if applied in our daily life, will make us better persons in whatever we do in our life. The question about the Mahabharat, it's mostly known for the Gita. The Gita is the teachings of Sri Krishna to Arjuna, reminding him of the sense of duty. And I always address it like this. The Gita is an integrated text. There's nothing which is called as Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Dhyan Yoga, which are separate branches to reach eventually that Almighty Ishvara, to know oneself, to know this world, and to know Ishvara God. It's an integrated. We need dhyan, we need karma, we need bhakti, the three of them as an integrated process. Because as standalones, it will need nowhere. The question is, if Arjun didn't have the knowledge given to him by Sri Krishna, where would that have led in the Mahabharata? He wouldn't have fought the battle, he would have gone otherwise, and wrong would have prevailed over right. Then if he had the knowledge with no karma, again the outcome would have been different. And with the knowledge, with karma, but not dedicated to the cause of righteousness should prevail, the outcome also would have been different. So it's an integrated process. And in the Mahabharata, after the battle, there's an Anugita, because it seems that when they are given to rule, Arjun has to be reminded of the teachings of the Gita. So it's in a very short, brief form. This is the Anugita. Another section of the Mahabharata which needs to be really studied is the Viduraniti, which is about ethics. And we have the Bhishma Parva, talking about Bhishma as a very great scholar and great warrior, and what are the pitfalls in his life which led to the Mahabharata. And within the Bhishma Parva, there is another Parva which is called the Shanti Parva. Now, when we hear the word Shanti Parva, when we remind ourselves about the Mahabharata, Shanti is referred to when Sri Krishna goes to Duryodhana trying to make peace. When we talk about if somebody doesn't know what is the Shanti Parva, when you talk about Shanti Parva, this is what comes in mind. No, this is not the Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata. The Shanti Parva of Mahabharata goes into one particular aspect. And that aspect is called the lamentation of Yudhishthira. After the war ended, he didn't want to take over as the ruler. The purpose of the battle was to eliminate wrong. And once wrong was annihilated, the right people should have come, stepped in to rule. He didn't want. The lamentation was that during this war, so many elderly people, relatives, friends, etc., and his own cousins, all these died. And moreover, his own kith and kin died there. The 5 sons of Draupadi died, Ghatoshkats died. So all these death, he just put the question to himself, was there a real purpose to win this kingdom and lose so many dear and dear ones. He was in a fix, probably worse than what Arjun was when the Gita, when Sri Krishna had to reveal the knowledge of the Gita to him, to get him on duty, on the path of karma, righteous actions. So that lamentation was there, and at that particular point in time, the sages who outlived the war started reminding Yudhishthira what was the starting point of the war and how he had no other option than going into it. He had to be reminded that he didn't kill the souls of these people. Again, as was the same thing. And in spite of so many of them reminding him of the sense of duty, he refused. And in the end, it was Sri Krishna who had to bring him to reason again. That Shanti Parva is about the turbulence in the mind and in the emotions. That is, it's the turbulent emotional and mental state of Yudhishthira. And if we have to calm that turbulent state of mind and heart, then we have to go on the path of yoga as compiled by Maharishi Patanjali from the Vedas. When so many of the sages or elderlies who outlived the war tried to bring Yudhishthir to reason, to control himself, and he couldn't. Each of the brothers again tried on their way. It says Arjun, upon hearing his elder brother's determination, agitation of the heart, agitation of the mind, he said to Yudhishthira, "You've achieved a superhuman feat, and now you're bent on destroying it. The reason is none else than the fickleness of the heart and the mind." He puts the question to Yudhishthira, is that not folly? He tells Yudhishthira, if you retire to the forest, dishonest men will become prominent again. So how do you lead societies there? And that sin of leaving the kingdom in the hands of unknown people, that is your responsibility. That sin will accrue to your responsibility. So you see, this is about a karma, not doing what has to be done. And it is now your duty to perform the Ashwamedha Yajna, to be crowned as the Chakravarti Raja, Chakravarti Samrat, the emperor of the whole world. Then after Arjun, Bhim stepped in to talk to Arjun. He said, "O king, your intelligence have been veiled by idleness, by what is not true. Renouncing the duties of king and leading a life of idleness in the forests, abandoning everything, then this war was uncalled for. But then was that not part of your dharma as Kshatriya, as people in the lineage of governing? Kshatriya are people who rule, people responsible for law and order. Was it not your duty of Kshatriya to stop those who usurped property or stole property by unrighteous means? Then Yudhishthir, Bhim told Yudhishthir, O Yudhishthir, govern this world righteously, as it has been laid down in the duties of a Kshatriya. A life of renunciation will only bring further distress. And a king living a life of renunciation is a decrepit attitude. The words are strong. Yudhishthir, unmoved, steps in Nakul. Nakul comes to the elder brother and says, O Yudhishthir, real renunciation of a Kshatriya is renunciation of his personal interests to protect the citizens. One who gives himself in this way is giving himself in charity. And those conversant with Vedic knowledge are the Brahmins, and these are the educators, and these are people who are really meant to live a life of renunciation. Because, as we say, they are the compass, they show the way of righteous living, righteous earnings, righteous enjoyment to all. So that is the renunciation for the Brahman, the educators, the advisors, the path shows. But the renunciation for a Kshatriya means that he renounces his personal interest and promote the common good. And if we link this to the Vedic philosophy, we will find that based on the knowledge of the 36th chapter of the Yajurved and the 22nd chapter of the Yajurved, Maharishi Dyananda wrote the 9th and 10th principle of the Arya Samaj. So we see that the real portions of knowledge can be drilled out from various parts, and that's why Maharishi Dyananda, Satya Prakash say knowledge, wherever it comes from, when it is true knowledge, just take it. So for people who can't delve into the depth of the Vedas, that's why we say you go to the Upanishads, you go to the right teachings of the Mahabharat, not the Ras Leela and other things which have been invented and put there. Let's go into the real, what has been written by Maharishi Vyas. And Nakul, who is, along with Sahadev, the youngest of the 5 Pandavas, come with this forcefully. Then he says, if you do not give protection to the citizens, then you are going to incur sin, and that is your karma. Sahadev comes last and says, casting off the kingdom, the external objects, is not success in life. Because one who is on the path of renunciation internally He is for that, but for some other reason, try to shun the kingdom. He doesn't make any spiritual progress. So spiritual progress is not only for the Brahmanas, but it also for the Kshatriya, the Vaishyas, Shudras. And this is only by division of labor. We confirm by the sayings of Arjun, Bhishma, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. When they are talking about the duties of the Kshatriya, the renunciation at the level of the Kshatriya, the karma at the level of the Kshatriya, we get the confirmation that Varna Vyavastha was only on Gun Karma Sabhav. Gun, that is the characteristics, karma, the duties, the responsibilities, the task, the profession, and Swabhav by the innate nature. And here, Yudhishthir was faltering in his karma and in his nature as a Kshatriya. Sahadev says, O king, such a person lives in the jaws of death who doesn't do his karma. That is, one who doesn't do his karma is one who either abstain from doing anything which is akarma or doing exactly the opposite of what needs to be done, which is vikarma, viparit karma. Arjun, again now when Yudhishthir is unmoved, Arjun moves to Sri Krishna and requests him. Yudhishthir is grieving for the loss of so many kinsmen. Please comfort him, please guide him, else we'll be falling, we fell from one danger and we'll be falling into another pitfall. So again, it's a call on the sense of duty. Then Krishna steps in. He addresses Yudhishthira. As a tiger, it doesn't a bright picture where you are grieving only for the dead. What's the purpose of lamentation? It's not going to bring them back to life. Those great warriors fell for a purpose. If you understand the purpose, then you will find that death is the destination of everyone who takes birth. And everyone is for every single living organism, not only the human species. So one may die today, at this very instant, or at some later time during the day or tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. So everybody will die, and these people died because that served a purpose. We had a duty, and that duty of Kshatriya was to bring back the righteous rule. And we say the Shanti Parva is just trying to calm the mind and the heart, the emotional and mental state of Yudhishthira, just as what Sri Krishna did on the battlefield with Arjuna. Seeing the king plunged in grief, Vyasadeva, the grandfather of the Pandavas, came forward and said, protection of the citizens is the duty of the king, and you're bound by that duty. The first and foremost duty of a ruler is to protect those who take shelter in him. And when the preparation was on for the Ashwamedh, the other kings of the smaller kingdoms all surrendered to Yudhishthira as the emperor, the Samrat. And now when these people are under his shelter and he backs out, then that is not, it amounts to a person who transgresses the laws of justice and morality, and he cannot escape punishment under karma. Yudhishthir comes forward and says, I do not doubt your advice. Everything about justice and morality is known to all. I have, however, for the sake of the kingdom, caused many people to be slain. That's the burning in my heart and in my mind, like a forest in fire. Then Vyasdevji reminds him again that if the karma was triggered by a cause, and for that cause to reestablish dharma, you had to go into war, and these people were slain. So the effects of those karma, because reestablishing dharma was a higher purpose, and the killing of these people served that purpose, serving the purpose of dharma. So on the basis of karma, the fruits of the result of the killing of these people do not accrue to your account. So it shows also the background of what are the karma that accrue to us. These are minimal things as regards to the reestablishing of dharma. And if you remember, Maharishi Dayananda in the Satyat Prakash talking about rebirth, he says, when the karmas are equal on the level of negative karma and positive karma, then we get the average human birth. And the higher the positive karma are, we get the birth in dharmic sampan parivar. In the midst, in the environment where these families are on a very high spiritual level, and they also are masters of material treasures, enable us to grow on the path of spirituality. That joins again the same level, the same knowledge. And if a man acts according to the desires or to the need of this time, then the fruits of those acts are only because it served the higher purpose. Like if someone uses an axe to cut a tree, and cutting that tree for a higher purpose, like a tree which has been eaten by termites, just to protect the other trees. Does the karma goes to the axe or to that person who incurs the sin? One, the axe has no karma. It's only built to cut. So it's for that purpose. The Kshatriya there is for that purpose. And the karma that cutting the tree eaten by termites or in which termites is residing and which pose a threat to the whole forest. So when that greater purpose is served, there's no sin involved in that. And then Krishna comes in. He says kings should always have the stick in their hand. As we say in management, using the carrot and the stick. The carrot is to induce people to do good and to do better in life. And the stick is for chastisement. It's because if you don't use the stick, you don't use the rule of law, then that would be unruliness, and that would be anarchy. Then after that, after the final guidance of Sri Krishna, Yudhishthira steps in. He says, I want to know more about the 4 Varnas and the 4 ashrams. And when he gets further knowledge from that, he resolves to step in and assume his responsibility. He casts off that lamentation attitude, that lamenting attitude, prepares himself to ascend the throne. And this is where now the Ashramediyas comes into the game. And I had one query on Ashramediyas because we used to chant in the Yads Pratana, Ashramedadik Rachai. And unfortunately, Ashramediyas has been given a bad name as the horse sacrifice, and with so many insanities accompanying that sacrifice. Ashra means horse, obviously. And if you look at the horse never goes backwards. So one thing which Ashramed teaches us, Ashra means righteousness. Ashra means also the holy fire of heaven, of Yads. So Ashramed Yads is to be taken there, things that are done for the welfare of the whole nation. And these are large-scale yajs which were usually done by the rulers because they have all the means of that. And Ashramedh yajs is done to bring peace among people, and it cannot be with hinsa. It has to be with ahimsa. But that Shanti Parva also gives us the idea of what is ahimsa and what is hinsa. When you are doing your duties to establish dharma, if in that people have fallen or things have fallen apart, that is not hinsa. And yesterday was 30th of January. We celebrated the life of Mahatma Gandhi, but then let's understand the real concept of ahimsa from the Mahabharat, even from the Shanti Parva, where Yudhishthir was reminded of that. And after that, the Brahmins came, performed the Ashramedh Yaj, the coronation of Yudhishthira as Samrat was done. And Yudhishthira, just in all humility, he asserts himself as a servant leader, a leader to serve the nation. And this is a concept which is now adopted in management in so many high management circles, that we have to adopt the attitude of servant leader. And this is what has to be adopted by people who engage in politics. The concept of servant leader in all humility. And they serve the purpose of ruling righteously. And when the preparation was on for Ashramedh Yaj, there was one friend of Duryodhan who disguised as a Brahman and tried to instigate Yudhishthira that you killed so many people. That was sin. It doesn't befit you to be a king. Then the other Brahmanas recognized him. The other educators around recognized him and said, this is a Rakshas in the guise of an educator. A Rakshas in the garb of the Brahman. And he was cast off, and Yudhishthira was coronated after that. Thus ends the Shanti Parva. I remember when I was a kid, when it's reading about the details, whenever we heard about Shanti Parva, we were thinking about Sri Krishna going to Duryodhan for negotiating for peace and avoid the war. No. But then after delving into the yoga philosophy and now analyzing things from the critical angle, then we see right. The real purpose was, as we say in Shanti part, let the peace be with me. Shanti Reva, Shanti Sama, Shanti Redi. That peace be peaceful and that peace be within me. Then and only then I can be peaceful towards others. So if we link all these bits and pieces of knowledge, then probably we can get a better understanding of the root of Hinduism, the Vedic philosophy, which is the Vedas, even if we don't know how to delve into that. So I'll leave the floor open now for questions, if any. You can just unmute yourself and then put the questions. We have 5-6 minutes. Otherwise, if anyone wants to give a feedback, that also would be most welcome.
No, Acharya, I don't think anybody has the questions. We can proceed for the conclusion.
Okay, I'll do the free time Shanti and then you conclude the end, please. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thanks for your attention. Namaste to everybody. Dhananjay ji for the conclusion, please.
Thank you, Acharya, joining from Mauritius for your very valuable lecture. I also thank Amarji and Satish Sharma ji for joining today. Just to remind everybody, we have a kids program for the uh, Sanatan Dharma Simplified for the kids, where they learn the Vedic mantras and their meaning and learn some stories and the morals from the story every Friday evening 9 p.m. And Saturday we have our weekly satsang morning 10:30 Eastern time, and Sunday for the spiritual learning for the adults at 9 p.m. So if you get a chance, please, we encourage you all to join on these times. Thank you. See you next
So just
week.
to mention one word, Amar Umadas ji is Pandit at the Toronto Arya Samaj, and Satish Sharma and the family also, both of them, the family are deeply involved with the get things moving at the Toronto Arya Samaj. And the beauty of them is that the whole family is involved, up to the kids and the whole family, as I say. And this is how we can get the Arya Samaj on the right track, is when the parents are involved. They bring the kids, as we say, take the finger of the kids since early childhood and bring them there and inculcate that spirit. They are doing very well in the Toronto Arya Samaj on personal level and social level and on the spiritual level. So wish them all well and wish everybody who's joined us on Zoom and on YouTube well. Thank you. Have a nice week ahead and good night for today. Namaste.